Welcome to Everyday Power, where we make personal improvement and meaningful living the breaking news of the day. And our goal is to bring on incredible people who can share their story about how they tapped in to their everyday power. And if you're looking to learn how to take your vision and make it a reality, there is no better person to talk to than this actor who's been dubbed one of Hollywood's busiest young stars. He's from ABC's primetime show Blackish, who also starred in several blockbuster hits like The Equalizer, Cake, and Straight Outta Compton. He's written episodes for Survivor's Remorse, which is a hit show on Starz. His music has also appeared on over 50 TV shows and films. He's also a successful entrepreneur who runs a company called Get It Done Records and a t-shirt line where a portion of the proceeds go to his foundation, Demo Nerds, where they provide free acting classes, tools, and services to at-risk youth, foster children in Los Angeles. He's also got a brand new film app called Everybody Digital that is set to launch this January 2017. Please welcome to Everyday Power, Mr. Allen Maldonado. Thank you again for being here.
Man, I'm taking you everywhere. You opening up every time I walk anywhere, you opening it up, man.
Thank you, brother.
Great
Thank
job
you.
with that, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. And so, Allen, I know I just read off a long list of accolades and accomplishments, and once again, more power to you. But for those of the viewers that didn't read that incredible piece that ABC News did on you, we know that life hasn't always been glittery awards. And so Everyday Power, we love hearing people share their story about how they got to where they were and what some of those defining moments were in their life. So, Allen, blockbuster movies, hit TV shows, new apps that help promote other people and help their work be successful. Can you tell us, starting off just outside of Los Angeles, please walk us through your journey of getting through to this point?
Wow, man. Coming from a single parent home, my mother took care of me and my two older sisters. My father passed when I was young. So being the man of the family kind of just really sat on me early. So at an early age, I knew I had to do something to help my family, but I really didn't know what and how. And in high school, caught the acting bug and kind of really just figured out that was my talent. And then coming from an area 60 miles east of Los Angeles, it really wasn't any opportunity where I was at. It really wasn't any like set direction or plan for any individuals coming from my area. I always share this story. The moment that changed my life was one day I'm hanging out with my boys from around the way.
Right.
We doing what we wasn't supposed to be doing. They out there, Dre over there drinking, they rolling dice or whatever, and I saw this lady walking down the alley, and it just took everything from me as far as I just had to I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And to the point where everybody around me kind of sort of disappeared, and I just followed her down the alley. She just looked exhausted. She could barely walk up the alley. And when she got closer, it was my mother. And, that broke my heart, and that just woke me up to the point where I said, you know what, I have to figure something out. I began to read, I was already in a lot of business books. And anybody that's looking to find inspiration within themselves and help figure out how to inspire themselves, Think and Grow Rich is one of my favorite books.
Okay, yep.
Of all time. When I was 16, I read it twice in a row, just because it spoke to me and where I needed to mold my mind, and how coming from these disenfranchised areas, your surroundings really determine how your thought process is. So if you don't set the tone, if you don't put yourself or put the images around you that speak of positivity, speak of inspiration, speak of motivation, you will fall in that trap. It's hard to not think about the red monkey playing the drums if that's all you hear every day. The red monkey playing the drums, red monkey playing the drums, red.
Right.
No matter what other stuff you focus on, it's going to be very tough to fight that feeling if someone is constantly in your ear speaking that. You know, after reading that book and, you know, really setting the tone as far as removing myself out of that area, but still being in that area, meaning that I just, you know, I would go home, I would read books, I would study, even though it's all the stuff that was around me was happening. I had to kind of change, but not kind of, I had to change my friends up just because it wasn't nothing against them. It was a thing of, it was easy to fall on the same track.
Right.
You know, it's easy to just, if everybody else is hanging out, I guess I'll hang out too. So that was one of the toughest decisions of my life was, you know, removing a lot of childhood friends from my life because of the distractions and just that they were going in different directions. That was the main thing. That was I always say this, that any accomplishments that I achieve tomorrow will be no greater than the first day I decided to be an actor, or the first day I decided that I'm going to succeed at this.
Right.
Nothing else would have come if I didn't from that day. So my greatest day was that say, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it until I die. I'm going to reach this goal no matter what, or die trying. Get rich or die trying. Right. That mantra. So from there, I got into acting classes, and through that, I met my manager, and we went on and booked my first role in Friday After Next. You know, and it's a marathon, and a lot of people out there, they got to understand that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I've been in this business for a very long time, to the point where I remember when it was black and white headshots. It wasn't nothing digital. You had to have a carrier. People used to send, you know, headshots out. Like, it was the way it is now. It's totally different when I began as an actor, and I'm proud of that because I've been able to stay the course throughout the change in the industry, throughout the change of how things are done, and just fast forward into the, you know, to the last couple of years. So yeah, it was the thing of me looking at it as a business. Like, I went to college for business, and for years I looked at it from an artist's point of view. And the way the game is structured is 80% business, 10% talent, and 10% politics. And 10% politics is only separated because I wanted to identify it where it's really 90% business and 10% talent. So if you don't look at it from a business perspective, you're only doing 10% of the work, which a lot of actors are frustrated. They give up because they hit walls. It's because you're only providing 10% of what you need. So
I love that.
Understanding that you're a business, like I am a product just like a Coca-Cola bottle, and understanding what type of design, what type of logo, what's going to represent my brand, and when people see the exterior of it, and what does that look like? Does it look like Coca-Cola that's, you know, perfectly packaged? It has its color scheme, it has everything to it, or somebody walking up to you with a bottle with Sharpie on it that says, "Hey, this is me." And which one are you going to choose just from the look of it? You're going to choose Coca-Cola. So as an actor, and as an artist, and as a business, you have to understand what type of brand, what type of product that you're presenting from the exterior. And then from there, you determine your demographic, you determine who's your target audience, you determine what type of, you know, style you want to represent, because Coca-Cola is white polar bears. It's American Pie. It's family. It's those things. Mountain Dew, on the other hand, is green, yellow. It's extreme sports, excitement, adventure. So they're still soft drinks. It's still the same business, still the same product, just two different audiences. So as an actor, you must understand what's your audience, what's your style, what's your brand. And once you begin to do that, you'll be able to focus your energy in at specific targets rather than throwing stuff on the wall and hoping it sticks. You know, it's very difficult to send out 100 flyers. You know, people don't check the mail. Like, people don't look at the mail anymore. Like, oh, I only look at the stuff on my phone. So you wasted all that money mailing something, and people don't even use that. So that's my major, I guess, advice, and kind of how I've moved and grown as an individual and as a person in this business, is really understanding those aspects.
Yeah, Alan, there were so many gems you just dropped there. I kind of wanted to choose a few to pick apart.
Go ahead.
I love when you started off and you spoke about you seeing this woman. She's exhausted at first. You didn't know who she was, but you felt inclined to follow her. As we know, when we want to change, a lot of people want to change. They want to improve their lives, take it to the next level, and they're constantly getting signs. How did you know that? What made you follow her? What made you act on that sign? Because if
I
you didn't
mean,
follow her, it could have changed.
that's one of the things that, for me, I'm a very spiritual and religious man in the sense of how God works and how there's moments in your life that are meant to be.
Right.
Um, you just have to reach them.
Right.
I live person that you must meet up with your blessings. That's something that I live by. But if you sit still, you can never meet those. It's simple physics. If something is waiting for me, but if I stay in the same place, I'll never reach those blessings. So I was going in a direction of my life where this was a moment that was meant to happen. And the key thing is being open enough to receive it. Now that was the difference where I could have ignored her. I could have just went on to and got involved with the people that was around me. But it was my heart that spoke.
Right.
And me being the person that I've always been, I've always looked at people and tried to figure out how to help people succeed. I was taught at an early age you can't expect a fish to walk on land, and your expectations of people is only placed upon how you position them in your life.
Right, right.
So if you position somebody to fail, you can't be mad at them. You got to be mad at yourself. You can't expect a fish to walk on land. If you put a fish on land, and be like, why aren't you walking? Like, well, that's not what he's designed to do, or her, or she, or whoever. So with that moment, that life changing moment for me was, again, it was meant to be, and that was my heart speaking. It was my heart speaking as far as I genuinely was concerned about this person who looked exhausted, and lo and behold, it was my mother. And at that point, I felt I needed to do more. I needed to figure out I wasn't doing enough, and I needed to figure out how can I contribute to her not feeling that way, not looking that way, not working as hard as she has to.
Thank you. And I also loved when you said how you came across the book Think and Grow Rich, and you read it twice at 16, and how that kind of changed your mindset up. What we're doing when I created Everyday Power, that was based on the students I was teaching in Harlem. I was a seventh grade English teacher, and we were looking at a poem from Tupac, "The Rose That Grew from Concrete."
Yeah.
And so I then asked them to go online and find some of their own poems that were inspirational, that they could compare their life to, just like Tupac.
Yeah.
And when they went online, all they found was, and all they felt that was relevant to them was, gossip websites, fights, shoes, clothes. And I would just remember being so disturbed by that.
Yeah.
And about how all this personal development information that I was into, they didn't see as relevant to their lives.
Yeah.
And so then I created Everyday Power to try to make it relevant, to try to make all this phenomenal information that you're talking about relevant to people's lives. How did you know at that young age of 16, what about that book specifically spoke to you and woke you up?
The power of the mind. There's a story in there in Think and Grow Rich that always speaks to me, and I always remember throughout the day, or whenever I'm up against anything, or if I want to go after anything. It's a story about in I think the 1800s, and it was a slave, and she was speaking to her daughter, and she said, "Look, I need you to go to the slave master and get a quarter or get something of that." It was some type of money, and the young child went to the slave master and asked for the quarter. The slave master said no. She's like, "No, my mother said I need to get this quarter. I need this quarter." And to the point, so she got irate with the slave master, said, "I need this quarter for my mother." And whether it was naive, whether it was idiotic, whether it was her just not knowing what time she was in, she demanded something to the point where she was willing to risk whatever it took. And the slave master gave her the quarter and she went on about her day.
Wow.
So no matter what type of tyrant or what type of obstacle or individuals that hold authority in front of your face, if you go in with the willingness to not leave without it, people will respect it, and people in 9 times out of 10, 99.9%, you're going to achieve what you want. You're going to get what you want, and that's something that spoke to me. And also, how your environment dictates your thought process. You are what you think about. I'm really losing how to say it, but you are what you what is your dominating? Whatever is your dominating thoughts, that's who you are.
Right.
So if you're thinking about the ratchet stuff, or you're thinking about the gossip, that's who you are. And you really have to check yourself and decide whether that's who you want to be. Right. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of these young people, or just not want to say young people in general,
right, it's true.
They don't understand who they are.
Yeah.
And if they really sat back and investigated themselves, because the world is full of distractions, and that's something that the book talks about. And I live by the mantra of the least distracted. Success comes to the least distracted.
Love it. Yeah. Love that.
So this is what this book speaks upon. It's about focusing in molding your mind to a point where the world doesn't mold it for you. Because that's the way it's designed right now, is that with smartphones, with everything that's happening, you're hit with distractions where the world will mold your mind if you don't do it yourself. And that's what that book speaks upon. It's about really molding and really being clear cut on how you want to think.
Right.
Because that's your power. That's your choice. That's us as individuals. That's your soul. That's your soul.
Right.
It's not about what you have in the exterior, what your physical or whatever. It's about how you think and what is your thought process and how you view the world.
Incredible. And before we get to everybody digital, I would love to ask, since as an actor at your level, you faced with tremendous amounts, I'm sure, of criticism and rejection. Speaking of this idea of controlling your mind and selecting your thoughts wisely, what advice would you give to people who might be in the profession, or even who just are in work or in school and they're trying to take greater control of their mindset to be successful?
It boils down to thought process. Again, back to that. That's why I read the book really grabbed. It's all about thought process. I live a very simple life under the phrase or under the motto of life is nor negative nor positive, it just is.
Right.
Meaning it's how you want to perceive things. So if you want to perceive them as negative, they'll be negative. If you want to perceive them as positive, you perceive them as positive. For example, I was hit by a drunk driver at 21.
Right.
First instance, people were like, oh, that's negative. Second instance is that from that accident, I grew a tremendous amount of faith in God, strength, and a position on myself, understanding that nothing and no one, no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Right.
A sense of every day could be your last, and that my goal is that if the day when that day comes, if I can look down in my life and say I did everything in my power to achieve my goals, whether I achieve them or not, I'm happy with that.
Right.
And that's a sense of power that I can only have achieved through a life-threatening, almost losing my life.
Right.
So it's a lot of positives from that. So it's all upon how you want to see things. And I don't see rejection. I don't see negativity. And I think that's something that people need to really understand, that for me, I may not win. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't, but I never lose. Because if I don't win, that means I'm a step closer to winning if I make the attempt. Because that's the only time you lose, is if you don't try. That's the only time you won't reach your blessings, is if you stand still. Right. Whether you're inching away or whether you sprinting at 80 miles an hour, you're going to meet up with your blessings. So that's what it's all about. It's all about effort, and no matter how hard it is, never quitting, because once you quit, you lost. But if you continue to move and continue to go, you're still in the game. It's a marathon. Life is over when it's over.
Right.
So anything in between is a result of your effort Anything in between is a result of your effort. Nothing is over until it's over. So if you quit, that's upon your effort, not because of what you're up against.
So, Alan, speaking of effort and goals, tell us more about your newest and latest project, Everybody Digital.
Yes, I'm super excited about this app. It's the first short film app that will contain and stream a catalog of short films that has never been done. Short films have been overlooked throughout the industry for years and decades, where they only live in film festivals, and they already provided for that demographic, and that demographic usually is the filmmakers and the film enthusiasts.
Right.
So for the average consumers have yet to tap into the market of seeing some of these incredible films that have been shot and produced and directed, and including stars from A to Z, and they've never had the opportunity to be able to view them. And a lot of these filmmakers, put a lot of hard work and money into these things, and it's only exposed to a small audience. So we created Everybody Digital create Everybody Digital to expand those markets, expand viewership for short filmmakers, and also we'll be creating original content. So we'll be the short form version of Netflix, where most of their films average around an hour to 1 hour and 45 minutes. Ours will average 20 minutes or less.
Okay.
So we're launching in January. We're actually taking submissions. So if any filmmakers out there have short films, whether they made them this year or the past decade, we have a home for you now. Most of the time they're in the film festival circuits and have nowhere to go. To just sit on somebody's computer and, just stay there. So if you have any films, you can go to everybodydigital.com and submit them, and then we can go through the submission process and get it on that.
We will put that on the screen for sure.
Please.
Yeah, we will put that on the screen for sure. And actually before I came from your Twitter and I saw a bunch of the clips. Hilarious. Hilarious.
Thank you. I feel that we got some great programming.
Yeah.
We've been working with writers that have, been on award-winning shows.
Great.
Some of the writers from Survivors Remorse have done, collaborating on some projects.
Great.
I think it gives us power as filmmakers, and to be able to create content and be able to create more work and create a streaming app for these short films just gives filmmakers hope, because a lot of times they make great films and they put them on YouTube and they get 1,000 views because they don't really know the business of marketing and really setting up your film. Right. Where with Everybody Digital, it'll be a queuing process where, let's just say I have a short film and we got Denzel in it and this person, and after that person concludes the movie, if your film fits in that genre, your film will pop up next.
Okay. Where
everybody will be promoting for each other. And now you've got, viewers from that like another person's film that's going to, run down to your film, and it's just a continuous cycle for each film. And I think that's moving as a community rather than as individuals is what's really going to set us apart.
What do you think is the biggest strength of you guys moving as a community?
It's that the strength of numbers, man. And that I mentioned before, most short films are due to have a small budget,
right?
And no matter how much you spend on it in comparison to a major film, an average film a low budget film is from I think $3 million down.
Okay.
$3 million.
Yeah.
So some of these short films are like 10,000.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
I know a couple guys from my neighborhood who got a smaller budget than that.
Yeah, they're doing it for $800.
Yeah,
they get it. They just get it done. So, with that being said, they don't really think of the marketing budget.
Right.
9 times out of 10, the people they just like, I got the film made now. What do I do?
Right.
Because again, it's from an artist's perspective, which is fine because you're making art. Right. But a lot of times they lose the business side of it and how to market and how really to expand their viewership, and that's what Everybody Digital is going to provide for them. Okay. So the artists can be artists. Right. They can make their films, and Everybody Digital will be placed in. I'm excited to be there. We're teaming up with some major film festivals. I can't announce anything yet.
Great.
But it's going to be a marketing budget and exposure for the app that will trickle down to everybody that's a part of it. And I think that's our strength, is that if we have one home that we can market, everybody will succeed. Everybody will reap the benefits from it.
Well, congratulations on that. That sounds absolutely incredible. Everything we could do here, we will promote it, put it on the site, to our email list, man. Just keep us
Thank
in the
you.
loop.
Thank you.
Keep us in the loop. And so, Alan, what inspired you to do this in the first place? You could easily just focused on you, on acting, on movies, but why is it that you wanted to do something so much for others?
It started from a friend of mine who had a short film, and he went on and won, I think, about over 10 awards. It's a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
And after the film festival circuit, it was like, what's next? Nothing.
Right.
There's nothing. And I felt like the world should be able to see this film. I felt that the world deserved to see this film. And that inspired me to begin the process. And during the process of creating Everybody Digital, it began to get bigger and bigger as far as now I can be able to, for every one filmmaker that's happened to, there's probably 1,000 others that's went through it. And that have went through that frustration of creating something that's magnificent. It's like having a child and 10 people see your child and you're like, okay, nobody else going to see my baby. Like, I know I'm proud, it's beautiful. Everybody that's had a child, they on Instagram posting 8,000 pictures of their baby because they want to show the world, this is what I did. This is what I created. And it's the same thing for filmmakers. And it's very, discouraging when you do that and afterwards it's like, okay, we're done with your child.
Right.
There's nowhere else for somebody to appreciate your child. And that's what's inspired me, is I want to be able to give that satisfaction to filmmakers. And also, it's been overlooked. Like, short films just haven't really been, the industry doesn't really see the importance of it, and I do. Okay. Because it's allowed a lot of filmmakers to get their start. It's a lot of actors to get their start. Because 9 times out of 10, when you have a big budget film, you have to go with a business decision on who's going to put butts in seats. Where a lot of talented actors aren't inclined with the business side of it, so they don't have those numbers backing them. So they'll never get that opportunity to play that particular role. Where in a short film, you can have a major role that can really showcase your talent without the major budget, you don't have to worry about the big names being attached, because you're doing it for the art.
Right.
You're doing it for the love, and and it's about just getting the best people that you can find to make a project, because you're not, concerned with the industry status quo. So.
Great. Alan, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
No problem, man. No problem.
I know that you said you got to run. You got your cousin's basketball game.
Yeah. Got to get to my nephew game, man.
So tell the nephew again, Jeff says good luck. Knock him dead.
Definitely. Thank you, Jeff.
Of course. At any time, my pleasure. Thank you again.
All right, man.
And Everybody Digital, check it out. Check it out.
Everybody Digital, man. Stay tuned to Blackish. I got another show called Universal Netflix. Stay tuned to that.
Yeah.
Survivors War Season 4 is going to be bananas. We're working on it right now. Getting everything tightened up for a January production. So I'm excited.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
No problem. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.